Greg Chasen is the architect of this home, and he posted a photo of it over on X, which went crazy viral. And since then, there have been a lot of articles about this house, like, why didn't it burn? Look, it has wood cladding. And that's another thing I want to talk about is so many people have been commenting and asking questions of like, why are these people in Southern California or in California in general still building with wood? So that's going to be a video for another time, but that's something I want to address as well because it's really important. So Greg posted this photo just talking about the horrors that are happening right now. And he got an influx of questions like, how did you design it? What's going on? So I want to give you a couple of quotes directly from him that are from over on X. And then I want to analyze it a little bit as an architect and let you know what I'm seeing and what made the difference. So a couple of the critical design features that Greg has talked about in what he attributes to saving this home. First of all, it's the no eaves or vents. So if you look at this home, it has this very modern roof detail. And some people may think, oh, that's just the design intent of what they want to go with, right? Like it's just like an aesthetic look that they want. But there's actually a lot of passive house strategies that go into this type of look. Now, passive house, this is the concept that you can create a really comfortable, sustainable, healthy home just with design features instead of like mechanical input, right? So just by the design decisions that you can make, you can create a home that depends less on the grid. So it depends less on the heating and the cooling of external features just based on the design. Now, one of those is extra insulation, air tightness, and this whole eave situation. Before I go into like why this matters, basically, I'm going to just give you some of the breakdown of what he's going into, and then I'll go into a little bit more of why this makes a difference in terms of wildfires. So again, that no eave or vents in the eaves design choice. The other thing is tempered windows. They installed aluminum clad tempered windows for their windows, and this makes a big difference in shattering. Tempered windows, it's kind of like tempered is what you would see in a shower, for example, or in a area close to a stairway or somewhere else where there's more likely that it could break. Or, for example, in a shower in a wet area, you wouldn't want it to break and have shards of glass. You may have seen this like a car window. When it breaks, there's little pieces of it that aren't shards, but they're almost, you could hold them, right? So they're safer to deal with if they break. But what that also means is they're much stronger. So they're likely to hold up to heat much better than your typical glass. There's also that concrete perimeter around this building. Now it's just a little site wall, right? It's probably only 30 inches high. It's not an entire, fortress wall. It's small, but it is enough to withstand embers or spread fire that is next door. The way that fire would be spreading would be embers going over that. So it decreases the chance slightly. You'll also see the landscaping choices around this design. It's minimal. It's not real elaborate. It's clean, and there's also not a lot of landscaping up against the house itself. This is huge because you need defensible space in fire-prone areas. If you think about it, if you have overgrown landscaping, if you have trees close up to the building, then those can catch fast. That's fuel for fire, catches fast, burns closely, gets hot, which allows it to burn longer and then gives you a better chance for the house to catch on fire. Now, Chasen also noted that the house next to them, not the one in the image that we've been seeing, but the other one, the other adjacent property, was demoed a couple months ago, and that this likely helped as well because there was less fuel for the fire there. So that did protect them a little bit more because it wasn't like both properties next to them were engulfed in flames, so that helped a little bit. So let's break down these details a little bit more so you can understand how they helped, and then maybe you can implement them in a future project of yours or even right now on your house. So first of all, the no vents or eaves. How this helps is when you have embers that are flying around, especially in Southern California, we have a lot of palm trees. Palm trees are king or queen of flying embers. They basically catch on fire and then throw embers everywhere. With winds that we were experiencing, these embers just get thrown. It's basically just like little balls of fire getting thrown all over. Now, when they're in the air, things like vents in our roof systems can bring one of those in. You really only need one ember to be sucked into an attic, catch the whole thing on fire. Attics are typically unprotected. There's wood in there, there's insulation, and one ember can create an attic fire and the entire structure can burn. So in fire-prone areas, there are certain minimum requirements for vents and eaves. Depending on where we're located, for example, this house, I'm assuming, I'm not an architect in Pacific Palisades, but I am one in La Jolla. And when we design a house that's right in the middle of town like this, there's not really prescriptive codes for fire that are stringent. So how can I say that? There's not strict fire codes. So you can have vents and you can have non-fire protective walls. But say I'm building over on a hillside or over in a more fire-prone area with a canyon, and there's more likely a fire can come up to our house towards the back side of the house. There are different code requirements that are needed. For example, you can't have any vents. You have to have fire-rated eaves and fire-rated walls. So you can have eaves, but they cannot be open eaves. You cannot, again, have access to the attic. You also have to have fire rating. This is typically 1 to 2 hour fire rating. And what this means is that wall will burn. It doesn't mean it's not going to burn, but it means that it will take roughly an hour or two to burn. The whole point of this is that it gives time to extinguish the fire, or it gives time for people to evacuate. So same thing with this house. This house that is going viral right now doesn't mean it wouldn't burn, right? If given the right circumstances, it would. But there are different design decisions that allowed people to evacuate or allowed them to extinguish the fire quicker. You'll see in other homes, especially the older homes that didn't have any protection, once an ember went in there, it happened so fast there's not time to react. Now, the other thing, the tempered glass, as I mentioned before, this is more heat resistant. Again, eventually, it likely would break, but it's able to resist the fire more. And again, that concrete perimeter, the landscaping decisions, these are all kind of simple items that you can include that can better protect your area. Now, in this specific situation, you will see there is actually a wood fence along the top area of the site wall on the side where the adjacent neighbor burned. Okay, so that somehow didn't burn. I don't know, by the looks of it, it looks wood. It could be some synthetic, but it did look wood. So, again, this is luck. Like, this house was in the middle of an entire neighborhood. There are, I'm sure, other designs that were more fire conscious that likely did burn because it was such a catastrophic event. But what we can take from this are lessons of how we can, as architects, as homeowners, how we can understand what design details we implement, how that can affect the health and safety of the public. And I say that because sometimes when we do have certain fire requirements, people will roll their eyes at it or not want to implement it. And this is a great example of not only clients or architects who went to the basic minimum of what is required, but also beyond. and how it saved them in the long run. Again, while this house, yes, was designed with extra capacity, the other things that likely, I mean, obviously we can't tell from a photo, but likely what we're looking at is which again, our passive house strategies is an enclosed envelope. Now, an envelope is basically, think of it as like the exterior of your house. This system, probably for sustainability, had higher insulation and likely was airtight. This means that it wouldn't have allowed airflow, embers, whatnot to come through, and also had that higher fire rating, which means it would have taken longer for it to actually burn. Now, again, I'm not the architect on this, but just from looking at it and assuming what the architect was doing when designing this, that's what I would assume. Okay, so let's say you live in your house right now, you're not designing a brand new one, and you want to figure out, okay, how can I protect my home, my family from a future wildfire just with like the bare minimum. And I'm going to have another video on basically like a case study for a fire smart house. What are the different design decisions that we can make if you are building a new one or if you're renovating your home now? So this is something that as architects we would need to know. And then also if you are a client or a homeowner and you want to communicate that with your architect. I'm also going to come out with a video more about why we in California don't typically work with CMU and brick, whatnot. Like we're actually like not allowed to. And I'm going to talk more about that. But for now, if you are a homeowner and you're wondering what you can do, what options you have for now. First of all, the most simple thing you can do is look around at your landscaping. Landscaping is a huge source of fuel for fires. So we want to make sure that we have clear defensible space. Defensible space just means that you have a space around your home that you can defend when it comes to a fire. If you have a bunch of overgrown brush or you have big trees that haven't been pruned in a while, especially if they're really close to your flammable roof, then those are things that you really want to look at. I love vegetation. I love landscaping. Landscaping is everything. So I'm not saying we need to all live in like concrete perimeter sterile spaces, but it's first of all, if you're in a really high fire prone area, it's about choosing the right plants. So that's also something I'll probably over on Instagram go have a video on plants that are good to choose, maybe plants that are not good to choose. But even still, like I said, palm trees. We have palm trees everywhere. We love them, but they're also not great for fires. There's also some that might be great for drought, but not for fire. So it's this balance that we have to figure out and how we can design. It's like, it's not going to be perfect, right? We do what we can. So anyways, clear out underbrush, make sure that things are trimmed back, get some goats. No, I'm just kidding. But people do in San Diego, they are trimming back sides of hillsides and stuff with goats for fire mitigation. So it is a real thing. So landscaping is a huge one and also something that you really have control over and you can get out there today and create a safer home for you and your family. The other thing is upgrading windows. You can upgrade to tempered windows. Not the cheapest, honestly, but if you are upgrading windows anyways, you can look at maybe there are certain areas, like if you are on a hillside or on a canyon, that back portion of your house or whatever portion of your house is on that canyon is going to be the most prone to a fire situation. So that is the side of the home where you will want to make sure that you're making those upgrades. Again, maybe a little bit more than say another side of the house that is close to water and not a big deal. If you do choose to upgrade only certain areas of your house or certain windows, check around, talk to someone who's a professional, even your window people, they might be able to help you out, but switching over to tempered windows can help. And then also, again, kind of the landscaping thing, but you can choose hardscaping like concrete or CMU walls for perimeters. And then also, again, removing landscaping too close to your house. I hate a house that is bare with no landscaping. I personally, even as an architect, think that a house is not complete until it has landscaping. So the landscaping that you choose that is closest to your house, or if you're planting a tree, make sure that it is in a spot where when it gets big enough, it's not going to be too close to your roof. But you can also choose plants specific to wildfire in those locations that are closer to your house, or even closer to the areas that, like the canyons, that are more prone to wildfires. So this viral house is an incredible example of how design really can make a life or death difference. Architects aren't just here to create pretty buildings. We are here to help protect the public, the clients, everyone. Okay. And there are design decisions that actually make a difference. So it's important as architects, as aspiring architects, as clients, we understand these design decisions. And then also it's important that clients and the general public not only rely on the architects, but trust that they are making decisions to help protect you. There are certain design decisions that we can make that can make a difference. And even with fires, with a lot of natural disasters, a lot of times it's the buildings that can kill people, not the natural disaster itself. So that's what's so critical as architects, is that we know how to safely design these buildings. Okay, on the next couple episodes, I'm going to be talking about the concrete versus the wood, why we're still going to be using wood, even in these crazy situations. I'm also going to talk about how we can design new homes to incorporate all these really important design decisions for wildfires. And then I will also be talking a little bit more about like plant choices and that sort of thing. If you are a landscape architect and, fire is your thing, and I want to hear from you, because again, I'm an architect, not a landscape architect. And so hearing from you what you recommend for fire is awesome. If you are another architect that specializes in a wildfire area, would love to talk to you. My husband actually works for the electrical company for fire mitigation. And so I would love to have him on talking more about that too. He works in the different fire zones and how that can affect things. And then if you're Greg Chasen and you want to come on here and talk about this design and what your design choices were, that would be awesome too. So stick around, check out the next episodes. And if you have any questions, put them below. We'll make videos, we'll answer them. Stay safe. We are thinking of everybody in LA, in the surrounding areas. It's just devastating. And hopefully information like this, hopefully virality of design and architecture can help create positive change for the future. All right, I'll talk to you soon.